Well, hey there, it's Catherine from CatherinePooler.com. In this video, we are going to create 7 cards using the round and the oval balloon stencils. I've had a great time playing with these. There's a lot of different looks you can achieve just from these 2 kind of unassuming stencils, and a lot of different techniques and looks that you can achieve with them. So this is a preview of some of the fun cards we're going to create in this video. But first, the queen of ink blending is Erin Thompson. She is one of our brand ambassadors, and I invited her to do a little creating with these stencils on this video so we can get our feet wet with how awesome ink blending is with them. So be sure to check the link below in the YouTube description to see her full-length video.
Hi everyone, I'm Erin Thompson, and I'm so excited that Catherine invited me to share some of my tips for ink blending with finger daubers in the oval balloon stencil. So I begin by imagining that the light source would be coming from like the top left side. And remember, a balloon, a 3-dimensional balloon, will have darker shaded areas towards the bottom and then also rounded around the top and the sides. And so we need to remember to keep a light area and then a darker area. And on this orange, another tip that I have is that I like to use a lighter color and then sometimes a much darker color for a dramatic effect. So here I'm using orange, twist, and then rouge as the darker shaded color. Doesn't that come out pretty? And now for the blue, I'm using suede shoes and then juniper mist. And you'll see I go through the same technique, shading darker around the bottom and around the edges. And another little tip I have is to use a post-it note on the edges where maybe you might go off of the edge of the stencil because you don't want any contamination with other colors. So when picking colors to blend together, it's always easy to pick 2 colors from the same color family. For instance, a lighter color and a darker color. But I really want to challenge you to kind of work outside your comfort zone and think of colors that are next to each other on the color wheel. And for instance, if red and yellow make orange, then use that red color as your darker shaded area on orange. Or for the purple balloon, you'll see that I use juniper mist for the shaded area because blue and red create purple together. For more tips and tricks, you can find the full video on my YouTube channel at Everyday Expressions. Thanks again, Catherine, for letting me join the fun.
Well, thank you, Erin, for sharing your expertise. I absolutely love that slimline card she created, and I can't wait to head over to her YouTube channel and check out the full-length video tutorial and see what else she has in store for us. But I wanted to try some sponge dauber ink blending of my own, so I'm using Aquatini. And Erin, I love how she used 2 shades, or like when she used the purple, the dark purple, and then the juniper mist to give dark shading to it. I love how she did that. I just went monochromatic, so I used 1 color and I just went heavier with my ink blending on one side of the balloon. So I'm taking that Aquatini ink and I'm doing an all over shading, and then I'm really going heavier and concentrating and going back and forth between my ink pad and the stencil over and over until I get a look that I'm happy with. And now for this card, I'm using the oval balloon stencil. I'm going to do different sizes. So the largest one in Aquatini and then the middle size in Tiara. And again, I'm just doing an all over color, and then I'm going to concentrate around the edges on the bottom right hand side. Gives it a great shaded look. And then you can see where the yellow and the Aquatini overlap. It gives a little bit of a more yellow-green color, and that's what it would look like if you had a cluster of balloons, because they're see-through and our ink is translucent. So then when you shade them and overlap, you're going to get a second color. That is a blend of the 2 ink colors or the 2 balloon colors. It really gives such a great effect on your handmade cards. And you see I have a little bit of purple tape covering up the highlight for the balloon. We'll be using those in just a little bit. So for this last balloon, I'm doing another medium size one, and I'm using Something Borrowed which is a gorgeous medium blue color. And here is another card I created, almost the exact same card. I just used the It's a Girl instead of something borrowed. And I finished it off with the happy birthday sentiment from Happy Birthday Many Ways and a few sequins. And then if you want to add a highlight, you can use something like Nuvo Embellishment Mousse. I'm going to use my Nuvo Stencil Brush and just pick up a little bit of that embellishment mousse and just brush it over the highlight. When you pull that back, you get that highlight shape, and it's a nice glimmery, satiny kind of look. I'm going to finish this off with a happy birthday sentiment. I'm going to use my Le Pen to draw some strings on the balloons. Add that layer to a card front for a simple card, or maybe you want to jazz it up a little. Add a little piece of patterned paper behind. The top layer is cut down about a ½ inch, and then add some bows. Those are from our Put a Bow on It dies. I just glittered them up with some bubblegum embossing powder and some embossing glitter, and added a couple sequins. Then for this card layer, I did a lot of balloons, so I just did them all over the front of the card. And then I added some highlights with my Posca paint pen. And then I took my happy birthday word die, cut it out of the center of a piece of black cardstock. I'm going to pull that out, add some liquid glue, and then add it to the card layer. The black cardstock that I cut out of to get my sentiment, now I'm going to take that and layer my stenciled balloon piece on top of it, and that is a great paper saving tip for you. I'm using my Barely Arts glue. It has a really thin, fine point, so it's easy to get on intricate dies like this. And I also really like to take one of my clear blocks and just put it right over the top of an intricate die. That way it will flatten out the die and make sure it gets adhered nice and flat as well. And I think it works really well. So just add that happy birthday, then add that to my black layer. I'm going to use some foam tape to give it some dimension, a couple sequins to top it off, and there's another fun card idea for you. So for the next card, we're going to use the round balloon stencil. I'm going to start out the same exact way. I'm using It's a Girl ink and my sponge daubers. I'm doing a light inking over the whole balloon, and I'm going to kind of concentrate around the edges here. So once I have my base color laid down, I'm going to add the highlights. So I will mask off the extra highlights to make sure that I'm only getting the one, and I'm going to do Be Mine with my sponge dauber, and that gives a great look just like that. Now I could leave it as is, but I wanted to share some fun techniques and mediums that you can use with these balloon stencils. So I'm going to use some Nuvo Embellishment Mousse. This is a fabulous pink color. I will have all of the products linked below in the description, so if there's anything in particular that you want to check out in our shop at shop.catherinepoehler.com, you'll know exactly what I used. So I'm using the stencil brush, and I'm just picking up the embellishment mousse with it, and I'm doing a circular application of the mousse, and I'm just spreading it over the whole stencil, and it gives a really cool shimmery effect. Kind of reminds me of a Mylar balloon. So for finishing it off, I'm going to use the Put a Bow on It dies. We have 3 sizes of these dies, and I cut 3 of each. I'm not going to use them all on this one. I chose to use the middle size, and I'm going to stack 3 on top of each other. This makes a really nice thick die cut, becomes more substantial, and it stands out on your card a little bit more. It almost starts to feel like a little bit of a chipboard element when you stack them. I love little die cut elements like this. So I'm going to take that die cut, and I'm going to just dab it right onto my Wow embossing pad. And then I'm going to take my Aquatini glitter. So this is embossing glitter. It comes in a trio in our shop. So we have the embossing powder, the embossing glitter, and the glitter, all to coordinate with our Aquatini ink pad. So I'll just sprinkle the embossing glitter over the bow. The embossing ink, it will stick to the embossing ink. So just pour it over, tap it off, and then I'm using my little poker tool to hold it in place while I heat it with my heat tool. It takes just a minute for that embossing glitter to turn to a liquid and become a glittery embossed bow. Now, if you want a darker, more solid looking color, you can repeat this process a few times and get a nice thick layer of that embossing glitter. So I'm just going to add that to the card layer. I added the happy birthday to the layer, did the patterned paper behind it, and just drew the string with a pen. So let's try another fun medium. I use the same base. This is the oval balloon stencil with It's a Girl sponge daub stenciled on there, or ink blended on there. And then I'm using Stickles glitter gel. This is Moon Dust. It's a clear glitter medium, and it is absolutely gorgeous. You know those balloons that are clear, they're see-through, and they have like the confetti inside? That's the look I was going for here. And I just love this. I think it looks fantastic. Just look at all that sparkle in the light. I know the recipient of this card is going to think this is pretty amazing. And then for adding it to a card, I die cut our block Celebrate Word die, and I die cut it right out of the front of, or right out of the middle of a layer of black cardstock. I'm going to add this to my card base. And then I'm adding another layer of white on top. I want to stamp the coordinating Celebrate stamp. So we have this block Celebrate stamp, and then the die coordinates with it. It's the same block font, but it's just stacked a little bit different, and one is a stamp, one is a die, and I thought it would be fun to use them together. I don't really know why I decided to glue this together and then stamp, but usually I stamp first and then adhere my card layers together, but it didn't really make a difference here. It worked out just fine. So I stamped a bunch of Celebrates on the bottom half of the card, and then I'm adding the balloon. And then in the Yay Gift stamp set, where this block Celebrate stamp came out of, there is a string stamp. So that worked out just great. A fun little loop-de-loo string. And then I'm going to use my Barely Arts glue. That really fine tip again is working really nicely for me here with the Celebrate Word die. And I'm just going to adhere this right on top. So pink and black and white. It's very stunning. I love that Stickles glitter gel. It looks fantastic. For the next card, I decided to do a fun, kind of subtle, but glittery and shimmery background. So I'm using this fun Starburst fan from the Party Fan stamp set, and I'm just stamping it with my embossing ink pad, and then I'm going to take Wanderlust embossing glitter. This is a clear, very sparkly glitter. I love it. If you've watched my videos, you see me use it a ton. And I'm just going to stamp a few of those images on the background, sprinkle over my embossing glitter, and then I'll heat it. Now, because this is clear, it's a little bit harder to see. You just kind of hold it in the light and kind of move it back and forth a little bit. You're going to watch for the powder to turn very sparkly and shiny, and then you'll know that images are embossed. I'm using a lot of the same pieces and stamps and layers as I did on the last card. So a white card base, a black layer, and a white layer on top of that. Now I used my large acrylic block to lay on top of my card base while the glue is drying. When I embossed those images, the cardstock did get warped a little bit. So then when I lay my block over the top and the glue dries, it's going to lay a lot more flat. And then I just added the pink balloon, just pretty much the same balloon that I used in the previous card. I made two, and just added it on here with that Celebrate Word block die, and you get a little bit different look here. Now we're going to make another card with some more of the Stickles glitter gel. This one has some gold pieces in it. So it has some gold stars, and it has a little bit of gold glitter in there. It's gorgeous. So here is the clear and there is that gold. I will have everything linked below so that you can go check it out. I'm just going to use my Nuvo spatula, and I'm just going to spread it over my oval balloon. I love all those gold stars in there. And then I'll just put the rest back into the pot, save it for another project, and let that dry. It is so glittery and sparkly. I'm going to let this dry, and then I'm going to cut this one out as well. And then I'm going to do another background with the Party Fans stamp set. This one I wanted to be more bright and cheerful and colorful, less clean and simple. So we're going to use Samba and Tiki Torch. And I'm going to ink up the Party Fan stamp it down, and then clean off my stamp. And then I'm going to go into the Tiki Torch ink. So I'm lining the second color up where it's just in the white spots. And then I'm going to do Limoncello and Garden Party. So just stagger the stamps so that the one color fills in the gaps between the second. And on that first one that I stamped, you can see there's a little bit of white space between the Samba and the Tiki Torch ink. I don't worry too much about that. I still think it looks fantastic. But if you want to fill in and not have any white, you can take a blender pen, pick up color from your ink pad, and color in the white, and then you won't even notice. And so then one last one with something borrowed and Aquatini, a really fun, cheerful, bright background. So with my cutout balloon, I'm going to line it up and stamp that balloon string there. And then from the Happy Birthday Many Ways stamp set, undoubtedly you're going to be able to find the perfect font, the perfect size, and the perfect happy birthday sentiment for any of your birthday card making. So this one I decided to do the happy birthday stacked up on top of each other with a little nice cursive font there. Felt that worked really well. And then I was going to add some confetti. This Party Fan stamp set has really great confetti pieces to it. So I just randomly stamped them in some of the lighter colors. So Coral Cabana, It's a Girl, and Garden Party, and just stamped those on the background. And you can do a lot of them if you want to fill in that whole background, make it a party, you guys. Or maybe you just want to go a little bit more subtle and just do a few of them. Totally up to you. And then we'll add this to a card base, and we are all done. How about that? All these different ways to use the balloon stencils. When we first came out with this product, I was like, this is a fun stencil. But then once I started playing with it and I saw what our creative team did with it, and then I did this video and used it with different mediums and different ways of adding it to a card front, I was like, this is such a versatile stencil. I love it. And I know you guys are loving it too because we've sold out of it a couple times, but it is in stock in the store, so you can go grab it if you haven't already. And I hope you enjoyed the video, you learned something today, and you're inspired. Thanks for being here. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and I will see you again soon.